I was reading the comments the other day. You guys write some great comments, and someone had an interesting observation. The viewer Harry underscore BLAAK, I guess Black, writes, "Hey, can you analyze the water physics from trailer 2 with the boat from the trailer leaving a lot of wake, but on the cover trailer from the website, the boat wake is actually reduced? It could be a different boat speed, or maybe they're optimizing the game more." As they mentioned in their question, it's centered on the boat from the first GTA trailer and the boat from the movie taken from the website. Both boats had wakes. And just to clarify, a wake is the churned up water behind the boat as it moves, but the trail or wake was noticeably smaller from the website. So I bet you're thinking, is this a downgrade, or are they optimizing this game too much? I was in game production for 14 years, and when I look at that footage, I don't really see a downgrade. I see a very specific engineering decision, and when I show you what it is, you'll be able to tell if an effect has been downgraded or not. So let's dive in, no pun intended, and decode what's happening with that water. First, let me put into context what you're actually looking at. Say the game shows you water that looks different from one trailer to the next. You notice it's the same boat, different wake, different color, different wave behavior. Your gut instinct is to say, which one is actually the real one? Now sure, we all know that a boat picks up more wake as it accelerates, and that's the boring answer. But it's only probably part of the answer. And that's not actually driving what you're seeing across these trailers. Both wakes are real. What you're seeing between these trailers is actually a dev team fine-tuning their systems in public. Think of every trailer as a snapshot of the current state of water simulation at a different point in the game and being optimized. The difference between them aren't mistakes. They're showing us the decisions that are being made as the game development progresses. Now, I'm no physics genius, and I've sat in the meetings where the engine team discusses the trade-offs needed to ship the game. Oh boy. And those debates weren't for water systems specifically, but the trade-offs are made on every game for every expensive system within it. So let me teach you what I've learned, and then the mystery behind the wait actually solves itself. To understand what's going to happen with GTA 6's water, you need to understand Rockstar's development of the fluid engine that they architected. And that means going back to Red Dead Redemption 2. I know. I reference Red Dead Redemption 2 in a lot of these videos, but it's the best game that is shipped that shows the direction of Rockstar's actual development of water and fluid systems. To this day, Red Dead Redemption 2's water is still some of the best looking water in any game. But here's what most people don't know about how it was built. People think water is just one system, but in Red Dead Redemption 2, it was two systems pretending to be one. The first part of the systems is what the engineers call a height field. To visualize this, picture a flat bed sheet being held in the air on four corners. Now imagine someone underneath the sheet is pushing up and down, creating waves. The surface of the bed sheet moves, but the sheet doesn't look like it's actually flowing. It's just the sheet is actually being deformed from the bottom. That's most of the open water in Red Dead Redemption 2. It looks great at a distance and is very, very cheap on the GPU. The second part of the system kicks in only when it has to. Say there's a waterfall, a splash, or an oar hitting the river that breaks the surface. The engine converts that little patch of surface into actual particle. So these are tiny splashes of water that look like they have real weight and momentum. They fly up and then they fall back down. That's your spray, your splash, or your foam. That's the difference between shaking a bedsheet and actually pouring out a bucket of water and watching it react with the ground. Now, here's how that matters for what we will see in GTA 6. I know it's kind of unbelievable in today's day and age, but a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2's rivers were crafted by hands. Crazy. They manipulate how water behaves, how it flows, its direction, and how it moves around rocks. I can't imagine the amount of time it took. Rather than being a true simulation, water was painstakingly painted in, shot by artists to get what the art director wanted. I wasn't a dev at Rockstar, but one of their artists who actually built Red Dead Redemption 2's rivers has spoken out recently saying that the newer engines are now a real step beyond what even his team could do even back then. So when a developer established that benchmark, says the benchmark's been passed, then that means the whole industry has moved forward in fluid dynamics. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is gorgeous, but it's mostly a magic trick. It has hand-painted rivers, a deformed surface for the ocean, and the particles only show around the edges. So you have to ask yourself, based on that knowledge, what changes does Rockstar have to make for a real honest-to-goodness city with water surrounding it with the scale of GTA 6? So we're going to take a look back to the patents. I love doing that. And a real-life patent filed with the government actually tells a story better than any trailer footage can. Here's the patent that Rockstar filed for a Sparse Fluid Simulation. It describes a system for fast, real-time fluid that reacts dynamically. Where this would be used in the game would be sweat on a character, or rain streaking down a surface, or a splash that forms in a puddle, and then after that splash has settled down, it behaves like water has settled on the ground. The key phrase in the patent are the two words, real time. That means the water is not pre-generated or hand-painted. The water is fluid deciding what to do based on what's touching it, frame by frame. That's a way harder problem than Red Dead Redemption 2 solved, and you can see it showing up in GTA 6 trailers if you actually know where to look. Watch the scene where the flamingo lifts off from what it looks like to be the Grass River's marsh. The water doesn't create ripples in neat circles. The water that is being pulled up from the flamingo's legs gets pulled up in little strands and then gets dragged down by gravity. So not a trailer, but look at the moisture on the Vice City cop cars in this screenshot. The water is beating like it was run through a puddle and creating beads and trails as it rolls down the bumper. And in the screenshot from Mount Calaga National Park, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, you can see the water being pulled up by the oar in the kayak. You're looking at a localized physics field that is reacting to a specific object. That is exactly what this patent is describing. Now let me address the downgrade issues on the color of water while we're talking about it. People noted that the water looks dark and choppy in the website trailer and lighter in the reef shots that were done later. They want to shout, oh, well, they downgraded the water. Nope, that's not what's happening there. I'm no Jacques Cousteau, but that's a fluid simulation engine modeling how light is being absorbed by the depth of the water. So here we go. I'll talk about how deep water is affected by light. Deep water swallows light, so it reads as being dark. Also, it's a nighttime shot. Shallow reef water actually will bounce back sunlight off sand and shallow rocks, so it reads as bright and pale. That color change doesn't mean that the water is being downgraded. The water system is responding to how deep the water is, the time of day, and what's actually underneath that water. It's the same system, but it has different inputs to how it displays the actual water on screen. So if the tech is getting better all these years, why was that boat weight getting smaller? So here we come to actually the good part. Here's the concept nobody outside of game development nerds talk about, and it explains the boat weight discrepancy. It's called LOD, or level of detail. Every game you've ever played probably has an LOD system in place and configures what you see at different distances. So the car right in front of you is a high detail model, similar to this screenshot. But the same car 3 blocks away is a cheaper, simpler version with less geometry. As things move away from the camera, the game quietly swaps them for lower quality models because your eye can't tell the differences at long distances, and the savings for the GPU are enormous. So let me give an example you may find just watching a summer movie. Think of that movie set. The building fronts right next to the actors are fully built out and are very detailed. But the buildings in the far distance, they're probably painted flats or cardboard. Nobody in the audience notices because they're not looking back there. That's LOD. So let's apply that rationale to the water effects. A boat wake is a visual effect, and visual effects are going to get LOD'd just like models do. A boat screaming across the water right in front of you gets the full, expensive, awesome boat wake. But the same boat that's farther out in the busier scene, the wake gets simplified since the smaller wake is cheaper on the GPU. So why do they have to do that? Imagine a full restaurant kitchen with a fixed number of cooks. Every single frame, the console, which is the kitchen in this scenario, can only fill so many order tickets. And the engineers give it what's called draw calls. So every wake, every splash, every droplet, every reflection is an order ticket that needs to be served up, but there's only so many cooks in that kitchen. Something on the menu needs to get smaller if you have a dense city full of NPCs and traffic. That boat wake isn't Rockstar giving water a downgrade, it's water actually getting better at budgeting with the GPU. They're spending the water budget where your eye actually is and quietly trimming that budget where you'll never ever look. So in video games, a downgrade is where you lose the capability of doing something. This is just the opposite. It's the capability that you have to do something is actually being managed. It's not the same thing, but there is a big difference. So I had another thought on water since a viewer floated a theory, that it deserves its own answer. Well, it may deserve its own video. The individual who submitted the comment said that maybe Rockstar uses wavy water to hide simplified reflections. I had never thought of that, and here's why that actually holds water. So when you're looking at water, there are two ways that water shows you what is actually in the world around you. Via reflection, which means that the surface is acting like a mirror, bouncing the sky and the buildings back at you. And refraction, light bending as it passes into the water, showing you what's actually underneath. A perfectly calm, mirror flat surface is absolutely brutal on the console hardware because it's a mirror that has to absolutely be correct. Your eye can make out all the imperfections. Every building, every light has to be spot on, and that reflection cannot be deviating in any sort of way. The most accurate way to do that is with ray trace reflections, which Rockstar is a master of, and is one of the most expensive things a console can be asked to do. Digital Foundry has already noted that these reflections are one of the first things that are likely to get cut back on consoles because they just don't have the RAM. So as a developer, what do? Well, there's a little cheat here. You actually make the water move. A choppy, broken surface scatters the reflection into 1,000 pieces. And the moment that the light is scattered across the water surface, your eye stops checking it for accuracy. Your animal brain just says, water, there's motion going on. Yeah, that looks okay. So you've turned an expensive problem into something that's very, very cheap to solve. The waves aren't just pretty. They're doing the work to let the reflection actually be cheaper on that GPU. I broke some of this down in the Ferris wheel reflection video if you want to check it out. It's the same bag of tricks, but this is actually just a little bit more to that idea. So here's what I want you to take away from all this. The next time you see that something you've seen before in two trailers don't match, say the wake's smaller, the water's a different color, the reflection looks softer, don't panic. You can look at it now and infer what's going on. You know what LOD is now. You know what a draw call is and why it's expensive. You know the difference between losing a feature and the developers managing the GPU load. That's the whole reason this channel exists. Not to hype the trailers, but to give you an eye for detail that I had to spend years inside the industry to get. So you can watch this game the way people are actually wanting you to watch it and actually play it. If that's the kind of breakdown you want more of, please subscribe. So do you have questions from the trailers or screenshots that Rockstar has just released for the Ultimate Edition? Drop them in the comments and I might dissect them for you in a future episode. Also, in regards to this video, in the comments, let me know which trailer's water look actually best to you. And now that you know about LODs, do you think that's the real water or the more expensive version? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.